Ravens fans, hold on to your seats because this is huge. Baltimore might be eyeing Jaire Alexander, one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, and if this deal goes through, the defense could get even scarier next season. But hold up. It's not that simple. Alexander has insane talent, but he also carries a risk that might leave some people hesitant. So, is it worth the gamble? Are the Ravens ready to take this big step? Stick around till the end because this story could completely change the course of the team. Go Ravens! The Ravens may be on the verge of a huge opportunity this offseason. Jaire Alexander, one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, could be leaving the Green Bay Packers, and that opens an interesting door for Baltimore to strengthen their defense without spending draft picks. According to ESPN's Rob Demovsky, there are strong indications that Alexander will soon be released, as the Packers could save over $6 million on their salary cap by cutting him. For Green Bay, it makes financial sense, but for the Ravens, this could be a golden chance to bolster their secondary with elite talent. Alexander is a cornerback who, when healthy, can completely elevate a defense. He's been selected to 2 Pro Bowls and has a track record of shutting down opposing receivers like few others in the league. His physical playing style, combined with speed and an incredible ability to anticipate routes, makes him a nightmare for quarterbacks. If he does become a free agent, he'll be one of the most coveted players on the market, and the Ravens will need to act fast if they want to secure this reinforcement. With a roster that's already one of the strongest in the NFL, adding a player of his caliber could be the final move needed to push the defense even further toward the top. However, everything hinges on the financial terms and the franchise's strategy for the offseason. Alexander has a hefty contract, and even if cut, he'll likely be looking for a big salary in his next destination. The question is, are the Ravens willing to spend big on a player with unquestionable talent, but who also comes with some concern? If the price is right, this could be a perfect move to solidify the secondary and boost their Super Bowl chances. But for that, Baltimore needs to carefully weigh whether it's worth investing heavily in this move. Regardless of the cost, the fact is that the Ravens need reinforcements at cornerback. The defense is already one of the best in the NFL, but they've struggled with gaps in the secondary over the past season, mainly due to injuries. Marlon Humphrey remains a pillar of the unit, but the lack of a reliable partner next to him highlighted the need for more depth at cornerback. This is exactly why the Ravens' need for an elite cornerback is so urgent, and this need could align perfectly with Alexander's potential availability. The Ravens' defense was one of the best in the NFL last season, but that doesn't mean there aren't areas to improve. The cornerback position, in particular, went through some ups and downs, mainly due to injuries that affected key players in the secondary. Marlon Humphrey remains the standout name of the unit, but he missed a few games, and when he was on the field, he couldn't always perform at his highest level. Without a reliable partner by his side, the Ravens had to shuffle between different options, and not all of them were consistent enough to keep the defense strong against the league's top offenses. Having a pair of elite cornerbacks is crucial to compete against top-tier quarterbacks, especially in the playoffs. In the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, it became clear that Baltimore needed more depth at the position to handle explosive offenses. With some uncertainty around the future of a few current players and the challenge of finding immediate impact talent in the draft, the best solution might be to go after a big-name free agent. This is where a player like Jaire Alexander fits in. If he's actually cut by the Packers, the Ravens have already invested heavily in their defense, but reinforcing the secondary must be a priority to ensure they stay at the top. The team's foundation is solid, and the defensive line has been able to generate pressure on opposing quarterbacks, but without reliable cornerbacks, that pressure could be wasted. For a team that dreams of a Super Bowl, any weakness can be exploited by opponents, and the lack of a second elite cornerback is one of the major concerns for next season. If Baltimore wants to take the next step, they need to find someone who can complement Humphrey and form a duo capable of stopping any offense. Now the question is, which path will the Ravens take to solve this problem? The free agent market doesn't usually offer many quality cornerbacks, and Alexander could be one of the few players who can make an immediate difference. But before they put all their chips on him, they need to consider the risk that comes with this investment. That risk could turn into a major factor in determining whether this is the right move for the Ravens. Despite all the talent that Jaire Alexander brings to the table, there's a big reason why the Packers might be willing to let him go: injuries. Over the past 3 years, Alexander has missed a significant amount of games, playing just 4 games in 2021 and 7 in 2023. Only in 2022 did he manage to play a full season when he was selected to the Pro Bowl and had an elite performance. For the Ravens, investing in a player with a recent history of struggles to stay on the field could be a huge risk, especially considering the defense already dealt with plenty of injuries last season. The big problem is that, even though he's one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL when healthy, there's no guarantee that Alexander will be able to stay available throughout the season. Baltimore has been down this road before, betting on talented players with injury histories, and not always did those bets pay off. For a team that has other needs to address, putting a large portion of the budget into a player who could miss significant time would be a calculated risk, but still a dangerous one. On the other hand, if the Ravens manage to work out a more flexible contract with incentives based on the number of games played and on-field performance, this could be a bet worth taking. Alexander has all the qualities to make Baltimore's defense even more dominant, but the price and the conditions of this deal will need to be very carefully planned. Otherwise, the Ravens risk compromising the team's financial future with a player who may not be available when they need him most. It all comes down to how Baltimore approaches this offseason. If the team is willing to take that risk, they might end up reaping great rewards with Alexander. But for that to work, he needs to be motivated and ready to be part of a winning project. The Ravens' decision will be crucial in determining whether this risk pays off. All right, we're past the halfway point of the video, but I noticed you haven't liked the video yet. It's super important for YouTube to keep recommending my content to you, so go ahead and drop a like. It's free and helps a lot. Thanks. Now, let's continue. If Jaire Alexander is indeed cut by the Packers, he will need to decide which path to take in his career. A player with his talent will surely have a market in the NFL, but his injury history might make securing a long-term, lucrative contract difficult right away. In this scenario, a short-term, prove-it contract could be the best solution for both the player and the Raven. This type of deal would allow Alexander to show he can still play at a high level and, should he have a good season, secure a larger contract in the future. For Baltimore, this would be the best way to minimize the risks involved in the signing. If Alexander agrees to a 1 or 2 year contract with performance and availability-based incentives, the Ravens would get an elite reinforcement without committing too much of the salary cap in the long run. Additionally, this type of contract could motivate the player to work even harder to stay healthy and perform at a high level. With a team that is already one of the favorites in the AFC, the chance to compete for a Super Bowl could be a major incentive for Alexander to accept such a deal. However, this strategy would only work if Alexander is truly willing to bet on himself. Some players prefer to seek longer, guaranteed contracts, even if it means accepting a slightly lower salary. If another team offers a 3 or 4-year deal with significant guaranteed money, the Ravens could end up losing the bidding war. It will all depend on how the market moves and what Alexander truly wants for the future of his career. If Baltimore can convince him to accept a short-term, incentive-heavy contract, the defense could gain a major boost without taking on too many risks. But even if Alexander doesn't come, the Ravens will still need to find a solution for the cornerback position. Regardless of Jaire Alexander's situation, the Ravens need to have a clear plan to strengthen the cornerback position. Free agency may bring some interesting opportunities, but the team could also look to the draft as an alternative to find a young, promising player. The problem is that finding a cornerback ready to contribute immediately in the draft is not so simple, and relying solely on that option could be risky. If Alexander isn't a viable option, Baltimore will need to look for other alternatives in the market. Veteran players who can still perform at a high level for an affordable price could be a good solution, especially to add depth to the roster. Another option could be looking for a trade with a cornerback who is unhappy on another team, something the Ravens have done in the past to strengthen their defense. The important thing is to ensure that the secondary has enough talent to compete with the best offenses in the league. Defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald did an excellent job last season, but he needs the right pieces to keep the defense at the top. With the offense led by Lamar Jackson ready to continue evolving, the defense cannot fall behind. The team's success next season could depend directly on how well the Ravens manage to strengthen the cornerback position. Whether it's with Jaire Alexander or another big name, Baltimore needs to find a solution for this position. Now, it's a matter of waiting to see what the team's big move will be to address this issue. So, Ravens fan, what do you think about this potential arrival of Jaire Alexander? He's a talented player, but do the health risks make him worth the bet? The team's defense would benefit greatly from him, but this deal needs to be carefully thought out. Let me know in the comments what you think about this story. Could Alexander be the missing piece to take Baltimore to the Super Bowl? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated on this and other Ravens news. See you next time.